All right, LSU football's offense was unbelievable this year. Any Saturday you go to Tiger Stadium, they're putting up 40-plus points, 500-plus yards. And the guy that perhaps had the biggest was the biggest reason why that happened, of course, Jaden Daniels, but Malik Nabers too. And I think there's a conversation that has to be had even now because a few minutes ago, the Biletnikoff Finalist Award list came out, and Nabers is one of three remaining. I think Romo Dunze from Washington is the other, and then there's one more who I'm forgetting. But it doesn't really matter who it is. You can put a name in there, whichever one you want. Nabers is the clear-cut top receiver in the country, and I might go as far to say that he might be the best wide receiver in LSU football history. I know that might be a hot take. I know that might ruffle some people's feathers because there's been so many good ones. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Josh Reed, who Malik Nabers broke a record of and is chasing one other in the bowl game coming up, which he said he will play so he could break that record. I think he's better than all of those guys, and I have factual-based evidence to back up him being better than Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, even Jarvis Landry, and right up there with Odell Beckham Jr. So, of course, right now he's the nation's leading receiver, having the best quarterback in college football. I'll say it. We'll do that for you, and he should be the Biletnikoff winner, which is the award given to the best receiver in the country for those who don't know. LSU's won it twice before, Reed in 2001, and then Chase in 2019 when Joe Burrow was his quarterback. I'm just going to say, there are numbers out there to prove that this year's offense was better than that 2019 offense. And look, if LSU doesn't go 9-3 this year, say they're 11-1, 12-0, they're getting talked about way more. They're going to be the A block on SportsCenter shows every day if that's the case. But they're 9-3, they're not in the playoff, and that's the reason why nobody's really talking about them except us here on Game Time. So that's all I'm going to say. So what matters to me is not putting up empty numbers, empty calories, kind of like Derek Carr does. In the biggest games this year, Nabers showed up. It wasn't a situation where he's playing Army, he's playing Georgia State, he's playing Grambling State, and putting up 300 yards. I mean, he did do some of that, not 300, but he put up big numbers in most of those games. But in the big games, he made big plays and gave LSU a chance to win. Alabama, 10 catches, 171 yards, and a touchdown. He had the game's opening touchdown. Against Ole Miss, he went over 100 yards. And Florida State, I think he put up about 70, but it was the first game of the year, and I spoke with Jaden Daniels after that Mississippi State game where Nabers really had his coming out party, like, hey, I'm elite, when he had 239 yards and just could not be stopped. Daniels says he wished they took more shots in that game, and the offense just was different from week 1 to week 3. And you almost wish you played Florida State in the middle of the year because who knows what could have happened had they played later in the season when LSU got its footing offensively and whatnot, right? Now, from a record book standpoint, right now, Nabers is the second player in LSU history to go back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with Reed. So Chase didn't do that. Jefferson didn't do that. OBJ didn't do. Nobody else has done that. So he's right up there with the creme de la crop, and he's about to break that dude's record for all-time career receiving yardage as well. So he's 22 yards shy of breaking that record. Thought he might get it in this A&M game. He did, technically, but then there was a penalty that called the play back. But he said he's going to play in this bowl game, whatever it is. Some are saying the ReliaQuest Bowl against Notre Dame. That'd be interesting. He needs 22 yards to break it. I mean, he gets that much in one catch. So he certainly will do that if he plays in that bowl game. And I think that would just cement his legacy as the best receiver ever to play in LSU history. I think there's just a little bit of a stigma with Tiger fans because Chase, Jefferson, they led LSU to a national championship. Nabers didn't do that. But still, he's putting up the numbers, and it wasn't like he was a ghost in the big games. He performed in the big games. Last year, this year, he was good last year. Even better this year. That's why he came back, and he's going to be a first-round pick. If he decides to go, I think he should go. I don't know that he has much to come back and play for, minus winning a national championship, maybe an SEC championship. But you want to risk millions of dollars to do that? I mean, that's his decision. Not sure I would. On top of that, he's already broken a record. He broke LSU's career reception record in this past game against Texas A&M. So I keep saying it, records. He's broken some. He's going to break some more. I think it's clear-cut. He is the best receiver in LSU history. Now, how does he compare directly with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and even Jarvis Landry? He is the fastest player to hit 1,000 yards in a single season since Odell in 2013. It took him 9 games. It took Jamar, I believe, 10, and Jefferson 10 or 11. So he beat them to that 1,000-yard mark quicker this season. And it's not like they played cupcakes beginning of the year. They played tough teams, but he beat them all to that number. So I think that's just a direct comparison right there, showing you that he was better on paper than those guys were. And I think he's the best receiver to ever play at LSU. And it's just a delight that we got to see it this year. It's unfortunate that you couldn't do more with it like the other guys may have done in their seasons. So now we wait. Will he be the third Biletnikoff Trophy winner in LSU football history? That should be released in the next couple of weeks, I'd imagine. Again, he's a finalist, nation's leading receiver. Odunze's on a Washington team that's 12-0. If they beat Oregon, we'll make the college football playoffs. So in terms of team success, he would kind of get the nod there. But every single game this season, Nabers was effective, and it allowed for even guys like Kyron Lacey and Brian Thomas to have career seasons as well. Because of him, I would say. I know Daniel's a great quarterback. He can get all the receivers involved. When you got a guy attracting that much attention, though, and you got wide receiver 2 going over 1,000 yards as well, I mean, that's just even more of a, hey, Nabers is the best. So I've given you reasons as to why he's the best in LSU history. He's the best in the country this year, why he should win the Biletnikoff, and he's a name that LSU fans should never forget.